You are listening to Waywut, a rabbit hole podcast that delves into odd tales involving true crime, supernatural, sports, science, history, or anything that we find interesting. We publish every Tuesday on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Please feel free to subscribe or follow us on any of those platforms, or you can email us at waywutpodcast@gmail.com. That's WAYWUT podcast@gmail.com. Or please follow us on Facebook, where we post our new episodes every week. Now let's get started and tell you some stories that'll make you say, "Wait, what?" And welcome to the third episode of Waywut. I am today's host, Darrell, along with the goose to my maverick, Jason. And today,
the finger.
You ass. Today, we will once again venture down a rabbit hole in hopes of teaching each other about something weird. But first, I have a fat man rant. Because, you mean I have a strategic camera thing here happening to try to keep, too much of the largeness out. I mean, one of the reasons I had to change where I recorded this is because, like last time, it was just like Jabba the Hutt double chins throughout the whole fucking video. So, back to my fat man rant. I love to travel. I enjoy flying. Flying's nice. But for a country that we keep hearing about our obesity epidemic, we sure do build all of our planes for skinny people.
You ain't lying.
It's not even my gut that's necessarily the issue. I got broad shoulders,
It's all of it in general. Yes, it's very skinny.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sitting with strangers and God forbid it's in the middle, then I have to do yoga poses to just try to get myself in some position to not rub shoulders with them the entire fucking flight.
And forget not sweating. You're going to sweat. You're going to have swampy pits. Yep, absolutely.
Swampy pits, swampy ass, and probably a stomachache if you're trying not to fart. But that being said, about my broad shoulders, I mean, that's the nice part, but the gut doesn't help. So whenever I'm on a plane, I'm never the guy that reclines my seat. And I've been on an 18-hour flight before, but I don't do that because I hate
You respect your surroundings, yes.
Yeah, I hate sitting behind the guy that does the seat reclining. Yes, and then whenever you have your tray down and they recline it, it moves the fucking tray. It either digs it further into your stomach, or if you have something on there and they're all like, "Oh, I got to move up, down, it's just going to launch your fucking shit all over the place.
Hopefully on them, but...
Yeah, no, I mean, anytime I've ever had that dude that can't make up his mind, I want to be back, I want to be forward. I mean, I just essentially spend that entire flight just plotting their death. But whenever it comes to, not just the reclining, but just whoever designed those seats, I'm thinking it's just one of those people that just absolutely just hate fat people. I mean, the angle.
Hate fat people and love money.
Well, I mean, it's the way that the angle is that you end up with your gut being squished, you're getting a fucking mammogram on your belly the entire flight, and you got to keep trying to figure out positions to alleviate the pressure.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I understand that, I could lose weight and it probably would be better. And, my doctor keeps telling me the same thing. But, like I said, it's not just me. We keep hearing obesity epidemic. And if that's the case, then can we, cut fat people a break? So, I propose we need a new airline for fat people. Make us pay by the pound.
A true jumbo jet?
Yes, you pay by the pound and you have a minimum weight requirement so that you keep all the skinny fuckers off. And you get these fat people friendly seats that don't mush your belly and you don't sit there and rub weird body parts with people the entire time. And then, for the love of God, whatever engineer they get, figure out a way to do the trays that they don't flip flop every time somebody reclines their seat. I mean, you can even be insulting with it. Call it like Flying Pig Airlines, or just some. I mean, you'll make a fortune. I mean, we got some fat fuckers out there that never get to go to Vegas or Hawaii. So yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah.
uh the capacity limit will be severely diminished.
Well, I mean, the fuel costs would be up, and you would have fewer people on there. But like I
About
said,
15 feet off the
that's
ground
why
all
you
the way
make them
there.
pay by the pound. It is feasible. It is feasible.
Yes. That's a that's a
It's-
that's a good idea.
yeah.
Would you consider obesity people or potentially obese people to be a class of people that could
No,
be
I don't think it's a class of people. I just think that it is a market. I think it's one of those things. It's more like it is a demographic. It
how
is
would you prove if this was to go happen, would you just show up and be like, "Yep, you're obese. Yep, you're obese,"
no.
or would you
You
have
have a
to?
scale. You already have scales in the airport to weigh luggage. You just get their fat ass on there, and then that's how you figure out how much their ticket is.
Oh, you're okay. I see what you're saying. Just pay by the pound, no
Yeah,
matter what. So even
yeah.
if you're 150 pounds,
No,
but is
no,
there a
no.
limit though?
There's a weight limit. There's a well, no, well, you'd have to no, because there's like really short people that
Or
may look huge, but yeah. Stop poking
like
holes in my
huge?
shit.
I'm all for it. I'm trying to fill in the holes.
No, just no. You're making me think about it too much.
I'm sorry.
All right. So speaking of airplanes, I found myself wondering about them the other day, and I started thinking about the first fatal plane crash because you hear about the first flights, but then nobody ever really goes over like the first time that like somebody messed up and like killed somebody. So for this story, we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, to the Wright brothers.
Okay.
So we all remember Orville and Wilbur Wright. They made their first historic flight in 1903. Hooray, we're first! And then they're like, "Do we get money?" And if they did, apparently it wasn't enough because they spent the next few years trying to figure out a way to turn planes into business. Because just the fact that you can get like one dude up in the air for like a little while didn't really
Get
appeal
over
to
there.
me. Yeah, it's like so they got smart about it and they start trying to figure out a way to build planes that the military could use it because if you're going to build something you might as well get a big fat government contract out of it. Unfortunately, the US government was not interested until Britain and France got interested. What's other people are like, yeah, maybe we can kill people with these. The US is like, well, I want to kill people with these. So they end up
Jealousy factor.
yeah. But in the end, the Wright brothers ended up with two military contracts: one with the U.S. Army and one with in France in 1908. So this is like 5 years after the first flight. So the brothers, who had not flown a plane in 3 years, spent some time testing out their new controls and doing some flight tests. They split the work up. Wilbur runs off to France to go deal with the frogs and try to, teach them how to fly while they're smoking their cigarettes and keeping their berets on. And Orville stuck around in the U.S. to work with Army. So the terms of the military contract with the U.S. Army required them to build an aircraft that could carry two people. So, this is like revolutionary for them. And that is where we will bring in a fellow by the name of Thomas Selfridge. And he was part of a group known as the Aerial Experiment Association. Oddly enough, interesting fact. Would you like to know who the leader of the Aerial Experiment Association was?
Sure. Who was it?
Alexander Graham Bell. Yeah, and he's like, dude, I figured out phones. I'm good. Now I want to be able to fly. And so what they did is, they didn't really they didn't beat the brothers to the first flight, but they've been doing experiments since 1891 of trying to engineer something. So we'll go back to Thomas. Thomas was 26-year-old first lieutenant of the Army. He was assigned to be the U.S. government representative for the Aerial Experiment Association. Uh, and there, he started learning how to be a test pilot. He was the very first U.S. military officer to pilot a modern aircraft. He even designed his own airplane that he crashed on its second flight. So, the Aerial Experiment Association and Orville Wright, they go to Fort Myers, Florida, so Orville can demonstrate the design that him and Wilbur put together for the two-seater. And initially, things go really well. Orville, he took that thing up in the air like 15 times, never had an issue. He set 3 world records within those 15 flights. He had a 62-minute flight with the passenger, which, everybody was like, wow. Then he flew more than 74 minutes in a single flight. And then a little less impressive, he was the first person to fly an Army major for 9 minutes. It's like they're really digging for the records at that point. It's like, you're the first person to fly a passenger with red hair. Yay!
No Mile High Club yet?
No, there's no room on these things. If you ever look at them, I mean, it's essentially like the airplanes that kids would build in their backyards. You got like lawnmower engines on top of like 2 or 3 wings. So back to the story. September 17th, 1908, Orville took Thomas Selfridge up on a test flight. And they start flying around 150 feet for 3 or 4 minutes when all of a sudden one of the wooden propellers just splits. And whenever it splits, the engine can't really, it's getting the full brunt of everything, and it's not as aerodynamic. So it starts to shake. Orville, he did what he knew to do, and that was he killed the engine. But at that point, he was not able to go into a controlled glide. The propeller then hit a bracing wire, which is the wires that held like the 2 wings, how they had them stacked on top of each other. So it hits a bracing wire, and it pulls the rear rudder, causing the plane just dip straight down. And he wasn't able to counter it. The plane hits the ground hard. Thomas was the less fortunate of the two, and he hit his head on a wooden upright that was part of the frame. He fractured the base of his skull. They attempted surgery, but he died a few hours later after the crash of the hospital. So Thomas Selfridge, among his experiments, he got to be the very first plane crash fatality. Orville
Congratulations.
Orville broke his femur, several ribs, and injured his hips, and he was in the hospital for 7 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah.
No amputations there?
Nope, not in this case. It was just broken bones. So it wasn't like, they're having to dig anything gangrenous out of him or anything.
Wow.
So what happens after the first fatal plane crash? The Army lost, a young officer and saw how devastating a crash could be. But them first test flights were pretty damn good. So they allowed the Wright brothers to complete their trials and eventually awarded them like the full contract. All that being said, it wasn't like they didn't learn anything, because
Both
the main
countries?
thing. What?
Both countries awarded
Oh,
the
the
contract?
U.S. France, yeah, they got that one easy. But the U.S., you'd think after you botch something and kill one of the officers that they'd be like, maybe we don't want to work with you. No, they were like, no, we're down. The main thing that they took away from it is that Army pilots were required to wear helmets. But remember, this is 1909, so this isn't like the like military helmets. You remember like those football helmets from the early
The leather
1900s?
helmets? Yeah.
Yes, those are the helmets they had to wear. This leather bowl that you can hopefully contain your brains once you smashed into the ground.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, just all joking aside, the trials were successful in U.S. and Europe and helped them create their very successful aviation company. And it only killed one person, which is pretty impressive considering that if I was trying to launch people up in the air, I would probably kill several more because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So that's the first ever fatal plane crash. So now we'll move on to the first fatal commercial plane crash. So we're going to move about a decade to December 14th, 1920. A Hanley Page 0400 was an 80-foot long, 7-passenger twin-engine biplane built by the British company Birmingham Carriage Company. So right there's your first warning sign. Carriage Company. I mean, I couldn't imagine I'd
Stay in
be
your
flying.
lane.
Yeah. It's like, I couldn't imagine I'd want to get on a plane. It's like, yeah, we were built by Radio Flyer or Power Wheels or whatever. I mean, it's like, the owner is like, yeah, we can build planes. I mean, we spent decades building wooden boxes on wheels. It can't be that different.
Yeah, diversify.
I mean, granted though, you know what the Wright brothers did before they built planes, right?
I used to know. I don't know anymore.
They built bicycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, they were the ones that kept getting on their damn little flying contraptions. The Birmingham Carriage Company. I doubt Mr. Birmingham was the one out there flying. Especially being that
No.
that's the name of the city. I mean, it was a company that just diversified, decided to jump into new technology. All right, so the carriage company's plane took off around midday from London on its way to Paris with 6 passengers.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
significant. I mean, like
True.
12
It's
years,
only 12
and
years later. Yeah.
they multiplied the number of people that they did by like 3. So not a big deal. And that's just passengers. That's not even counting crew, which I will get
Yeah.
into here in a little bit.
Are these still free rides, or now these are making
Oh
money
no, this is a
rides?
commercial flight. They paid to be up there.
Yeah, I wonder how much that would cost.
Uh, didn't look that part up. I didn't care. I mean, because it's back then. I mean, it's two things. One, it's way in the back when whenever it's like you could, it's like, wow, I have a whole penny. Two, it's in Britain, and I already don't understand pounds and pence and
Quid.
quids and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I can't imagine trying to understand it with deflation and stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, despite testing the engines before takeoff, once the airplane was in the air, it never got higher than 100 feet. It then hit a tree that was just under 50 feet tall and then ricocheted off of it and hit the roof and back wall of a house. 4 of the passengers, either they jumped or they were thrown from the plane just as it burst into flames. So, I mean, I
Big
guess,
was this plane now? Does it show how big it was?
I mean,
Or did you
it was an 80-foot long plane.
80-foot long plane and a train or a tree was able to stop it during flight?
Well, I mean, yeah. It was just, I
That's
mean, they
crazy.
were a lot lighter back then. Remember, they were made out of wood.
Cans.
Yeah. So 2 of the people that jumped off, bailed out or whatever, were just had 0 injuries. They're just like they pulled like a fucking Bruce Willis or Schwarzenegger and like just jumped off. And then the other 2, they just had slight injuries. I mean, they were just sitting there like, "Ow, I skinned my knee." The other 4 people on the plane, which is 2 crew and 2 passengers, which at this point, I'm shocked that there's more than one crew member on these tiny ass planes back then.
Gotta have drink service, Darrell. Gotta
So,
have drink
I
service.
mean, they were almost out in the wide open. I mean, if it's open enough for you to just like bail out and just jump off the plane before it goes plummeting in the ground. I just don't know where they would go. So the other, so two crew, two passengers, were trapped in the burning wreckage. And what makes it worse is they were not killed on impact. The remaining people were
Oh,
said to be screaming for several minutes as the wreckage burned around them. No one could get to them because of the intensity of the flames.
damn.
Yeah, yes. So this one got very unfunny very quickly. Uh, they had an inquest, um, but no one could determine what caused the plane's failure to gain altitude. Uh, there isn't really much else that's said about this. Some claim that this one technically isn't the first commercial plane crash, since uh, the Italians crashed a plane the year before. So on August 2nd, 1919, a triplane, so not two sets of wings, but three,
Like a double-decker bus.
more like a triple.
Well, yes, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So it was
And
flying.
something extra they don't need to have.
Well, they thought they did. And don't act like we're aeronautics experts.
Is
Maybe
this a
that third wing.
tricycle of airplanes?
No, it's more like the Scooby Doo sandwich of airplanes.
Scooby-Doo sandwich. Okay.
All right, so it was flying from Venice to Milan. It was about 3,000 feet in the air when the
Oh,
wings
getting higher.
began to flutter and then collapse. So all three wings, just all three failed. Several of the passengers jumped from the plane crash, but everyone, they can't decide if it was 14, 16, or 17 people. Either way, all of them died. So, yeah. Uh, I mean, I kind of wonder if they were trying to do like what we do on elevators when we're kids. Whenever it goes
Hit.
down, you try to jump to see if that would like make a difference. And they're like, oh, the plane, it's going down. Just jump out right before it hits the ground. Tuck and roll. You'll be fine. So, I mean, there wasn't a
What caused
whole.
this wreck?
The wings just collapsed.
Did
The
they see
wings.
a prairie woman on it?
What?
A prairie, a prairie woman.
A prairie woman? No.
No, not off
No.
bridesmaids. Nothing. Nothing.
No. What the
When
hell
she's
is
drunk
this?
on
Oh,
when she's drunk on the plane and she's freaking out
yeah.
and she
No,
starts saying she sees a prairie woman on the wing.
I forgot about that.
Stove.
It was nothing like that. Uh, I mean,
Uh,
honestly, there's not a whole lot of information on that Italian one, and I have no idea why it is not considered the first commercial plane crash. I'm just some guy that just reads this shit on the internet, so I have
what
no
about their
clue.
what about their frequent flyer miles? Do you think they transferred over to
No, I
the?
think those get buried with you regardless. I don't think they even change that. Although
Mm,
although you
too
can
bad.
lose them in a divorce. I'm not shitting
I've
you.
seen them in decrease before. Yeah,
I was gonna
I
say
agree.
I've done that twice already. I know.
Yeah, they're worth a lot of money.
So that does it for what I've found out about old fatal plane crashes, and it kind of makes my rant at the beginning seem like some severe first world problems. Uh, it may be cramped and uncomfortable, but at least they're not made of wood anymore.
Hey, sweaty pits is nothing to be laughed about.
Well, yeah, but neither's being burned alive for fucking. I mean, I'm
Once again,
sorry,
you
but
would have
like
sweaty
it
pits still.
said, it said several minutes. I mean, being burned alive. I mean, I would think that 1 minute is too much.
Yeah, that's a slow burning fire if it takes several
Yeah,
minutes to consume you in a plane crash.
yeah. You all right?
I
Yeah.
just get
Well, on.
visions of Austin Power coming at me with a steamroller.
Could you have? Do you have a bit of ointment? All right. Join us next time when Jason will bring us a tale or two that will hopefully make us say, "Waywut." So, bye, everybody.
Deuces.
You have been listening to Waywut. If you enjoyed what you heard and you would like to listen more,
please follow us on Spotify or Amazon Music. If you're more of a video person, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you don't know what you want, and for those of you that do, please follow us on Facebook. Every week on Tuesday, we will post links to our episodes. Thank you for listening. We really, really do appreciate it. And join us next time when we will tell you some stories that will hopefully make you say, "Wait, what?"